Okay, so hello, this is Seoirse from the Adventure Games podcast, and I'm here at Reboot 2024 in Dubrovnik, and I'm delighted to be joined by Evan Jones,
Hi there.
developer of Broken Spectre, a new VR game that has just come out and has been winning awards as well. So, hello, Evan, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing really well, and I said I reached out because I'm such a huge fan, and just of adventure games in general, and to know that there's a podcast for it
Yeah.
is so exciting.
Well, thank you very much. And well, we'll get to the game because I don't usually play VR. I don't have a VR headset myself. I certainly not played many narrative games. So I was delighted to hear that there was a narrative game made for VR.
Yes.
So what can you tell us about yourself first, how you got into the industry very
Sure.
quickly, if you wanted to?
I have been probably at this for 20 years now, and my start was before the time when there was things like game design studies. I ended up doing computer science and film, and the two might not seem like they were well matched, but for the adventure gamers out there, I think you're going to understand, like, the storytelling and the technology have always been a big part of my world. And so I started my own studio in 2007. It was a lot of different obsessions. I worked a lot in a space called alternate reality games, which
Yes.
are a very early internet phenomenon of, like, storytelling across different websites. And the idea that the characters themselves were actually able to create their own websites and have their own email addresses, and you could call them on the telephone and have conversations with characters. So it was really about a very, like, distributed interactive narrative, and that's how I got my early start. And my studio has always been trying to do two things at the same time: interactive and stories, and bringing those two together. So Broken Spectre is just the latest one of those. I'm really happy that it's been doing so well, and it is I think calling upon a lot of those classic adventure stories. It's a narrative first game where really the thing that you're playing is a way to unlock the story, and you play it at the end. I hope it's something that affects the players. We've heard back from a lot of players who find it's really something that they think a lot about, because it's a genre of story called cosmic horror. Some people know that as Lovecraftian horror. It's usually a lot of dark themes that talk about the what is real, and what is the world that we're living in, and we try to really bring that to life in virtual reality.
Sure, I think virtual reality is probably perfect for a horror game because you're
Yeah.
in the game. I mean, I've played zombie games where I'm shooting, and that's kind of horrifying itself because it feels like they're coming right at you.
Yeah.
But what can you tell us about the story of Broken Spectre? What can we expect? Without giving spoilers, don't need to give any spoilers.
So I'll talk about the hook at the beginning, which
Sure.
is that Broken Spectre is a family story. It's a story where you play the main character, Casey, and Casey gets a phone call from her father. It's a phone call where he apologizes. He said, "I'm sorry for everything that I've done before." And the shock is that he's been missing for the past 25 years. And so suddenly you have this, like, part of your life that's come back. You're grown up now. You have all these childhood memories of your father leaving you on this mountain called Cold Blood Mountain. And
That doesn't sound good.
and so because there's the hope of reuniting with your father, you go back to Cold Blood Mountain and you try to look for him. And so as you're climbing the mountain, you find evidence that he's still there and that he's just ahead of you. And as you get higher and higher, things get stranger and stranger and darker, and you learn a lot about your own family and hopefully about the nature of what's real and what's not.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. And
I think the big breakthrough for us is that the game uses your hands. The whole game is about hand tracking. There's no buttons in the game. And so every single thing that you do in this game is like a one-to-one match with your own actions. And I think that one of the things I love about adventure games is that you sort of get to immerse yourself in a character and become that character for a little while. You visualize what it is to be in that situation and how can I solve my way out of it. And that's really what we're trying to do with Broken Spectre, is that we want you to feel as if you're Casey.
Sure. And yeah, so it's, I guess with VR, as you mentioned, it helps with the immersiveness of it compared to, say, like point and click with a mouse or a controller.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody is ready for horror games, and you mentioned a zombie project. We're not we're not building a game that's all about jump scares. It's much more about a slow building tension of the game. You know, we talk about sort of existential dread as one of the themes of that storyline. So it's not meant to be just, you know, smashing zombies. It's about immersing yourselves in difficult situations and trying to find your way out of them. What we have found though is that like VR is amazing for those moments. Like one great example is that it's like you're being in your own horror film. Is that those moments where, you know, the camera will show something and you'll hear this big like, you know, sting in the audio, and it's sort of like that moment that where all the suspense is released. We can actually create those moments in VR because we know where you're looking, and so we can put you into a cabin, and you don't have that like sort of big horror moment until you actually see the object in the cabin that we've been waiting for you to notice. And the moment that you see it, then we can hit the audio cues and we can create the moment that you imagine from all of those horror films of the, you know, the great times.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, your game has it has won several awards already, hasn't it?
It's been doing well.
Mentioned.
I mean, it's the kind of game I think that really leaves people thinking, and I think that that's been really something that's affected the juries that we've been talking to. I mean, our biggest win was the best VR experience of the year for.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, the VR awards. It was like in Rotterdam. It was an amazing experience to go and to be celebrated there. I mean, we have also been featured at all kinds of different sort of narrative film conferences, like the Philip K. Dick Sci-Fi and Supernatural Film Festival. You know, horror film festivals. We've been named like best game of the year by the New York City Horror Festival. And what else? Like we were really fortunate to win best in play at the Game Developers Conference. And so it's been the kind of thing that we couldn't be happier about. But I think what you're really noticing is like there's nothing more fulfilling than to put yourself out there in a story and a game experience and have people receive it that well. You know, we get letters back from players afterwards that we
it must be very gratifying.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you a better version of this than to say, you know, reading the responses from players is really what makes it fantastic.
Oh no, I'm sure it is. You know, it's absolutely fantastic. Well, I think we're going to get started with the talk out here. So just very quickly, which VR? Where can people find the game? Where can people?
So the best place to play is, you know, the number one headset right now is the Meta Quest headset, and all of the different versions of Quest will play it. And you know, we also have it on Steam, but I would really recommend for the hand tracking. It's amazing on.
And it's just VR, is it at the moment? Yeah.
Yeah. Once you've played it, I think you'll see why.
Okay.
It is specifically built to immerse you in a way that I don't think many other games can. And we rely on some of the tricks of hand tracking. I don't want to spoil too much, but one of the theories is, you know, one of the things that we play with is body horror. And so the things that you do in the game actually have consequences, and they carry with you in your hands. And that's another teaser for those people.
Okay, I look forward to trying it out. I'll include the links in the description.
Oh, yeah.
Of this video. So, well, thank you so much, Evan, for chatting with me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Reboot.
Thank you. It's been an amazing time.